Why, hello there, a Knives Tale here. Thank you very much for checking out the channel today. I hope you're having a great day and that the video finds you well, and maybe you enjoy the video and have a better day afterwards. I don't know, maybe I'm a precursor of good luck, who knows. Either way, consider liking and subscribing. I had some issues there. I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers, and the sooner I do, the less I can have to say that in every video, right? What are we doing here? We're looking at this. This is the SOG One Zero. This is the review of the SOG One Zero. As was with the case with all of my reviews, there will be timestamps down below, so you can skip over the specs and stuff like that if you don't care about that and want to just jump right to the proper review. And of course, if you know that already, you could have skipped over my little self-promotion as well. But that's up to you. Let's just jump into the specs so we can talk about this knife from SOG, of all places. That is, honestly, better than I expected. About 3 1/8 on the blade length. The handle length is a little bit weird. It's under 7 3/4 in the handle length. However, the pocket clip sticks out a little bit long there for some ultra deep carry that actually surpasses 7 3/4. So you can argue where you want to put that. 4 5/8 on the actual handle itself, and again 4 and almost 7/8 on the pocket clip, or with the pocket clip, I should say. Let's make some comparisons. I'm going to include the pocket clip for the sake of actual length, just to keep things nice and clean. It is going to artificially inflate the knife a little bit, but I'll take that into consideration when I do grip length comparisons. For now, this is the size comparison of the full-size Conspirator and the small Elementum, which it's definitely closer to the Conspirator, though the blade length sort of falls closer to the Elementum, which is interesting. So you're not necessarily getting great handle to blade ratios, I would say. They could have probably, in fact, gotten more blade in there, and I will talk about that once we get past the specs. But yeah, that is a thing that could probably have been done. Handle length, or grip length, for your 2 AA batteries is you have just shy of 2 AA batteries. Even if I take the clip away, you have pretty close to 2 AA batteries. It's a very comfortable knife to hold. You're not going to have trouble getting your hands on there. At least I don't think you probably will, unless you have giant mitts. I do not. I have stubby fingers, but about 3.8 inches across my hand in width, so I don't know if that helps you, but it is what it is. Weight, 4.77 ounces. Not a super light knife, which is actually kind of interesting considering this is just aluminum on the outside, but they have a lot of steel going on in there. Full steel liners and everything like that, and a big full backspacer, and a decent amount of like crossbar lock machinery and stuff, so it adds some weight. It's not the lightest knife. It does feel very... I mean, maybe they intentionally made it this heavy. It's got that sort of like premium feel where it feels very solid for aluminum. That's kind of nice, but it just feels very like solid brick almost. Though it's not heavy as a brick, it is a little heavier than you might think for its size. Hardware, it is T6. Everything is T6, which is kind of annoying, honestly. I don't know why they did that. I have adjusted the pivot. It does work fine. For adjustments, you might want 2 T6s, but actually I adjusted it with 1 fine, so I don't... If that is free spinning, I don't know. But I'm not taking this thing apart because there's a few... Well, I don't feel like dealing with the crossbar lock. But T6. Why? I don't know. Did they execute it decently? Yes. Do I want it to be different? Yes. For the love of all that is holy. Alright. Let us move on from ragging on that to the actual thickness of this knife. 478 thousandths. Pretty thin, honestly. And it's got a slight bit of contouring. It does... Well, actually, it's got a decent amount of contouring, but it doesn't look it because it's got this texture that's sort of been milled into it, so it almost looks flatter than it actually is. With the clip at its highest and thickest point, which would probably be back here, 0.6. It's actually quite a thin knife. Speaking of that, blade is 107 thousandths of an inch for some reason. Odd one, but okay. Behind the edge, we have hopefully reasonably thin. I haven't measured it behind the edge actually up until now, so... Why in the crap is it that thick? What? Really? Okay, this is fighting me hard. Get in there. Get in there. No, get in where you're supposed to. Like 23 thousandths maybe behind the edge. This is 80/20.S thickness. Honestly, I didn't think it was that thick. Maybe it's because it's got a good edge on it. Like, it came with a really good edge on it. But it cut better than I expected for that thickness. Honestly, that's a surprise to me. Like I said, I've been using it. I would have said it was a little on the thick side, maybe like 20 thousandths, maybe 18 to 20 thousandths. But seeing it at 23 to somewhere between 23 and maybe almost up to 25 thousandths behind the edge is a real surprise. It cuts decently. Okay. Not ideal, but it does work, so maybe it's just kind of got just the right geometry. I wish it was thinner. Whatever. Where were we? We're at the end of our specs section. That really did surprise me. So, let's just talk about this thing. What do we got here? We got a black titanium nitride finish. It's not DLC. It is matte up here, and on this one it is got this sort of very reflective satin down on the blade. It does look really nice. It is much like DLC, very subjected to any oils and everything that you get on it, possibly even more than like well, not standard DLC, but like some polished DLCs. It is cryo-treated S35VN, which is a good mid-tier steel. Lower high-end steel, maybe, up to that. It is made in Taiwan, and as usual, SOG has to, brand the crap out of their things in ways that you don't need it, especially on this knife. This knife is supposed to be, elegant, clean. Get rid of that. But it does say SOG Zero, which I don't like seeing the name. SOG logo also happens to be here, Studies and Observation Group, and here, which they really could have just left it completely off the blade and left the blade completely, entirely clean, which would have been very nice for this general elegant shape they were going for. But they didn't. SOG can't help themselves. Sharpening tool plunge grind is... It's fine. They give you a little bit of life. The plunge drops almost down immediately, so realistically, it'll be fine. You probably won't have to cut in any sharpening tool until you get way up here. Yeah, there's a decent amount of life, especially considering how thick this knife is. I guess by the time you get up there, you probably won't be continuing to use this knife as a knife. Yeah, it might be a bit too thick. Overall, it came with a good edge. It does have some jimping that actually functions. Very good up here. Nice drop point shape. All the belly's kind of up front, but you can still get to the tip for access. Yeah, it's a good blade. It's a good blade shape. It's a good looking knife. I do wish it was a bit thinner now that I see this, that it's as thick as it is, but whatever. Bearings in the pivot. It is a crossbar style lock, the SOG XR style lock, and I will say I do like when they put plates underneath the crossbar. It just looks cleaner than being able to see through it. It gives it more of an elegant look. And I also want to say that the SOG has a pretty good, like, almost retention feel. It is, you saw me in the beginning of the video, possibly, slipping out here because this has a chamfer on it, which makes it a little bit annoying, so you really kind of have to push into it. But it's a very satisfying, like, they've got a good amount of tension holding this thing in here. I can't get this out. This is actually quite good, and it is quite nice I don't know how I even did that, because I've never done that before, but of course I would do it on the camera. Get used to it, and it flicks out really well, and it's actually a pretty satisfying flick. While at the same time, you can slow roll it, and it still feel like, you know, mushy like you're used to on a crossbar lock. However, the actual reverse flick is pretty satisfying. And it's got a decent amount of retention there, so I think they actually did a really good job, which is nice to see and say about SOG. Stop pin is actually right here underneath the backspacer, so there, and, well, the housing and materials for keeping it in the closed position are the XR crossbar lock, and that hits, as you can see, down there. So you're definitely not having trouble with sharpening it in that regard. Shouldn't cause any problems. The aluminum is got a thick coating of this material, or it feels like a thick coating. It's kind of got like a light orange peel, plus there's some very light texture that's kind of hard to pick up, honestly. The handles are really nice. I have to admit, the handles feel really nice. They've got just a little bit of that sort of not quite slippery texture because of the orange peel. They feel very solid and well executed. Very, very good. It is aluminum, not titanium, but yeah, this is pretty nice. Nicer than I was expecting. I also like the full backspacer, and I don't mind the Studies and Observations group up there, which is, of course, SOG. I, again, wish it was off there, but that's fine. You have, as I mentioned, full steel liners. And, as I also mentioned, hopefully it'll come across, they could probably have gotten more blade length in there. Shorten that, or mill out a little bit more of that backspacer. And you could have probably gotten maybe a 1/4 inch, almost, not quite. At least 1/8 of an inch more blade in there, which would have been nice and would have fixed the ratios a bit. However, it's not the worst thing in the world, right? Unless you're a ratios person, it's not bad. The actual grip is, not only do I have enough room, but it's actually super comfortable. They give some really nice chamfers, and it's really rounded and softened very, very nicely. I'm very impressed by that overall, especially considering the things I normally have seen from SOG. Being usually like Gerber level, this is not that. This is definitely more premium and well executed, possibly the Taiwan influence. Taiwan does tend to do some decent work sometimes. That's why Spyderco uses them, I would imagine. The pocket clip is sort of a mix between a stamped and a wire clip. It's actually really comfortable. It doesn't look like it would be. It looks like it's got a big flat on the end, which it does, which does not help it. I kind of wish it didn't have quite as much of that flat. However, it's got a pretty decent amount of retention, but it's relatively light to flex, so it actually works in and out of the pocket decently. It goes super ultra deep carry. The knife is basically gone in most, unless you're wearing super thick pants. And despite it looking like it wouldn't be, aside from the fact that wire clips tend to always be noticeable, and this has a big flat on the end, it's way more comfortable in the hand. You do sit on the flat, and I kind of know that, kind of can tell. However, it's actually really, really nice in the hand. And I mean, you only have really this one primary grip position. I mean, you can, of course, hammer grip it, but it's pretty easy to find a position where the clip is almost completely gone, other than just maybe just a tiny bit of that sitting into your palm. It's super comfortable in hand. I'm quite surprised by that. Now, the crossbar lock is, of course, a very ambidextrous lock. Left-handed people can very much so use this. This clip is mounted back here. Now, this clip is supposed to be reversible. However, as you can see down in there, you've got a tiny T6 screw. Hopefully you can see down in there. Yeah, there it is. And you basically have to take this knife completely apart, including that screw, including this, mess with the things, and take it even further apart than that to actually get this stupid clip to slot out and reverse. I looked into it. I did not want to do it. Just simple as that. It is not as convenient as just sitting there and swapping the clip. I mean, it's something that you're only ever going to have to do once, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. But if you are not right-handed and you want to pick one of these up, know that there's going to be some fun had before you can start carrying this knife on your left side. Overall, this is actually a really nice knife. It's greatly surprised me. I like the coating. I've had this coating on Spyderco before, and I think one other knife. It's nice. It's a little bit more reflective than like a satin DLC, but it's also got two-tone here, and it looks good. You can really see the satin in this one. It does pick up oils. There is a variant with blue handles with just a plain satin blade, which, if you don't want the black, and there's also a black handle version where it's just full blackout. So you've got a couple options. They all look pretty classy, honestly. There's also an, pardon me, wow, trouble. There's also an automatic version of this knife that uses the same XR lock mechanism setup, but it is, of course, automatic, which is kind of cool. Kind of neat way to do that, and I can appreciate it. Not one that I've checked out, so I can't speak on it, but it is out there. Overall, this is a lot more recommendable and a lot better of a knife than I was expecting. Like, by large margins, I like this knife. There is one problem with this knife, and it has been rectified. When this knife came out, I believe these were about $300. That is unacceptable for S35VN and aluminum. It is very well executed. It is very nice. That's too much money for this knife. However, it seems that after having them out for maybe a year or two, maybe SOG, because they weren't selling them, came to their goddamn senses. And they have now adjusted most of them, except for a couple of the newest release ones with the chrome blackout automatic versions. Most of, if not all of the XR versions have been adjusted, and they're now $200, or in fact $199. They've taken $100 off of these. And at that price point, this is absolutely recommendable. It is, of course, not the longest lasting thing. It's definitely a light duty knife, especially with that thickness. You're not, I mean, you have the strength to be really using it, but it's, of course, more of a smaller knife or smaller blade. More elegant sort of carry that's maybe you don't want to have to sharpen it because it's as thick as it is, but yeah, it's going to function decently. And as I said, I'm actually quite surprised that it's as thick as it is. I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't measured it. It cut better than I expected, especially knowing where it is now. So overall, this is actually a recommendable knife from SOG. It's kind of nice. It's not doing anything amazing. It's not reinventing the wheel. It has its odd choices and, you know, the usual SOG things with the overbranding, but the XR One Zero here is nice. I like it. I'm pretty happy with it overall. At that $200-ish price point, and if you can find them on sale or something for even less than that, which does occasionally happen, I can't say it's a bad knife, because it's not, even being thick. So, I'm going to end things here, say thank you very, very much for watching. As usual, there will be some videos popping up. Consider checking out something else on the channel. Consider liking and subscribing once again. Help me out there. And let me know if there's anything I can do to be better, or if there's a specific knife you want to see on the channel to hear my thoughts on, or anything. Say it. I'm more than willing to check stuff out, as long as it's not like $2,000, and I can't do that. But for now, have a great day, and thanks for watching.